Hello, I am Middi. Welcome to the
Yo, let me stop. All right, listen. So for like the past, I don't know, like friggin' 3 weeks, I've been trying to like reteach myself how to mix vocals because the way I was doing it before, I never really liked how it came out. And I just figured, look, I learned how to do this like freaking 10 years ago. And I'm like, there has to be like new ways to do some of this stuff. So I was like relearning how to do all of these different things. And I feel like I'm finally at a good place where I'm really liking how I got my vocals sounding. And I just figured I already made a video on mixing and mastering for drums and then mixing and mastering for instruments. I figure I might as well also do a video for mixing and mastering vocals so that you can have all the parts to make like a full song. So this is where we at right now with it. I'll let you guys go ahead and listen to the vocals on this track. This is actually a super old song that I did like forever ago, and I wanted to see if my new method would like make my vocals sound better. So we're gonna go ahead and take a listen to this.
If you get paper, you ain't worried about a hater. You ain't worried about a hater. If you get paper, you ain't worried about. You ain't worried about. If you get paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the minute made. Fresher than some glade when I pull up with the suede. Know you feel played, how my money so tall. Like you know I'm Paul Wall, I can never fall. Like I'm MJ, cause I'm living off the wall. Like I'm MJ, cause I'm about to win it all. Hold up, yeah. Neck so icy that I'm getting frostbite. Suffocating, man, cause my rhyme's too tight. So hot that I sizzle. I'm popping, I just fizzle. Schooling y'all boys, man, call me Miss Frizzle. Eating on my beats, but I'm never satisfied. Killing on my beats, man, I call it genocide. Cook 'em up and knock 'em out, call me George Foreman. Feeling like I'm in my prime, see me transforming. Mind so sharp that I might decapitate. Feeling myself, I ain't talking masturbate. Playing with the money, man, that's all I fornicate. Married to the game, man, love it like my baby. Feeling like a Tendo, can't nobody play me. Swear I need a do-rag, cause I'm too wavy. Hold up. Swear I need a do-rag, cause I'm too wavy.
Okay, I was kind of getting, I forgot I was supposed to pause this at some point. But yeah, I'm loving how this sounds now. It sounds way better than it was before. So I'm gonna run you guys through all of the different things that I do to process my vocals. We're gonna start off with the main vocal. Usually I'll record the chorus 2 different times and I'll use one as the main lead. And then the second one, I'll use it as like a background vocal. And then usually the second one, I'll like chop it up so that the only audio playing is like the last word that I say in the lines so that you could like put more emphasis on that word. It just makes it hit harder. And then usually for the verse, I'll only do the one take for the main vocal and then I'll just do the same chop for a second take. And the reason why you want to do a second take is because if you just copy the exact same main vocal take a second time and then you chop it up, you're gonna get like weird audio sounds happening. It's literally just gonna like double the volume and just blast your eardrums out. So that's why you want to usually record it twice and then use the second one as like the backgrounds. I got insert 1 and 2 and 3. 1 is the one for adjusting the volume of the beat, 2 is the main vocal, and then 3 is the background vocals. As you can see, I have a whole lot of things. I'm basically like almost maxing out the number of slots for effects I have. I'm going to go through each of these separately and try to break down what I did and why I did it so that you can understand how to do it for your vocals. Because the thing with vocals as opposed to like instruments or drums is you can't just copy and paste exactly what I do because one, we're using a different microphone and different microphones have different ways that they record your voice and different problems that you need to fix. And then also we have different voices, like you might rap like this or something, or like you might like rap like this or something. Like we got different voices, so you're gonna need to like do different things. Now, enough yet. First thing we got is an EQ. The purpose of this EQ is to be a De-Esser. What the heck is a De-Esser? So whenever you say like things with an S or a T and you're hearing like all of those that happens when you say those letters is gonna spike the volume, but you can actually get rid of that because the spike is in a very specific place. So what I like to do, I just recorded a take of me just making S and T sounds. So see how that sounds aggravating and annoying? You want to remove all of those sounds and frequencies from your voice. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab an EQ. And the reason why I said to record just a take of you making just those noises is so that in the EQ, we can see exactly where in the frequency range that these sounds are actually happening, so that we can like specifically target just these sounds. Because obviously, if you take out more frequencies than you actually need, you're just gonna make your voice limp and lifeless. So we're gonna go ahead and listen and watch where on the EQ you see the spike in volume. As you can see, this thing is spiking like right here. Like right here, the volume is like spiking really high. That is where my S and T range is. Yours might be different because you have different vocal cords than mine, but for me, this is where I need to cut. Basically, what I did is I grabbed this thing, I dragged it down, and then what you want to do is with the scroll wheel on your mouse, you just want to scroll down, keep scrolling. You want to make this as like narrow as possible. You don't want this super wide because again, if it's super wide, you're going to be cutting off parts of your voice that you don't want to get rid of. You want it like exactly where you found that spike from the S sounds. So this was where my spike is. Wherever your spike is, just drag it down. I would say bring the volume down to about halfway down. You don't want to bring it down too much because then you're going to be cutting off too much of your voice. Okay, next up on the vocal chain is another EQ. Now, this is a very specific and surgical EQ, and this is to basically get rid of all of the things that your microphone is doing to your voice that you don't want it to do. So as far as this is concerned, you cannot just copy and paste this because all of the things that I did here is extremely specific to my specific microphone. So if you copy these and you're using a different microphone than me, none of this is going to do what it's supposed to. But you're in luck. I'm going to explain exactly what I did here and exactly why I did it. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the default. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to get rid of everything that's below your natural bass tone. Your voice has like a frequency from low to high, and everything below the lowest that your voice gets, you want to cut that off, because if you leave that there, it's going to start clashing with all of the bass and like low frequencies in your beat, and it's going to make your voice sound kind of like muddy. So you want to get rid of that. And the way that you find out where that is you want to listen to your vocal, and we're going to see the different spikes on the EQ, and we're going to see where does it cut off, like where's the lowest my voice gets.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater.
So you can see that it kind of like tapers off like right around here. So what you want to do is you want to go to one, you want to right click it, you want to go to type, and you want to go to high pass, which basically means only let the sounds past one be audible, and everything below that, cut that sound off. I would say you don't want the roll off this long, you want it a bit shorter. So I would go over here to this thing where you have the curve, and then you want to go down on the scroll wheel to make this shorter. And we're going to re-listen and look out for where the spike happens. And basically we're going to move this to where it lines up with the spike in the thing, the EQ, the graph, words.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater.
So you see that it's like right here, that's where we want to move this over to. So because doing this can be super imprecise,
yeah, I got the juice.
It's easier to use this little scroll wheel thing. It's easier to use this little scroll wheel thing to like make like small changes left and right.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade.
You're now cutting off all of this, which this range is basically always going to be for whatever your bass instrument is. Whether you have like a real bass or you have like an 808, this is where that should be. And you don't want anything else taking up that space because, again, like I said before, it's going to start clashing. After you do the cutoff of the bass, all the rest of these are basically looking for frequency frequencies that sound bad and removing them. Usually there's 3 that you mainly want to look for. There's one around the bass range, there's one in the mid range, and then there's one usually in the higher range. And then also we can do a second De-Ess. So there's a couple things that we want to do. The way that you find out what frequencies you want to get rid of, because you're probably like, I have no clue what you're talking about. We're going to start off with 2. You want to scroll down so that you can make this smaller so that it's more precise. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2, you're going to bring that all the way up. And what we're going to do is something called a frequency sweep. You're going to move this left and right, and you're going to listen to this with headphones on, and you're going to listen as you move it around and listen out for sounds that make your ears hurt. As you're moving it around, you're going to hear like sounds, and you want to move like very slowly because some of these sounds are like very precise where your microphone is like being weird. So you want to slowly move it back and forth, left and right. And when you hear a sound that just like makes your ears hurt, that's when you know you found the thing that you want to get rid of. So we're going to go ahead and do that.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade.
See how that sounds terrible? We want to get rid of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag that 2 down, I don't know, like this much. You don't want to be too crazy with it because again, you're just going to start getting rid of your voice that you want to actually keep. If this 1 is coming down too much, you could just go ahead and scroll down again. Now, the second one we're going to get is typically more of like a boxy sound. It's a sound that your microphone makes that makes you sound like you're stuck in a cardboard box, and that we want to get rid of. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did before.
Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the Minute Maid.
Okay, that one makes my ears hurt. So we're getting rid of that. Bring that down some. Let's go ahead and see what this for.
Like I'm MJ, cause I'm living off the wall. Like I'm MJ, cause I'm about to win it all.
All right, that makes my ears bleed. And then let's go ahead and see about that whistle noise.
Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade.
It's kind of hard to hear because I already got rid of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the first De-Esser off.
When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater.
Yeah, there it is. Go ahead and drag that down. Like I said, this is probably the lowest that you want to drag it down to. You don't want to go too crazy. And you might be saying, okay, we only heard those sounds when we dragged the thing all the way up. So like, why do we need to get rid of it? You couldn't even hear it before you dragged it up here. It's because even if you don't drag it all the way up there while the volume is like maxed out, when you're actually listening to your voice, all these sounds that were like ear piercing and like hurt your ears, you still hear them and you still feel them when you're listening. And it's better to be safe than sorry to just go ahead and get rid of all of that. So we have now gotten rid of all of the ear piercing, ear bleeding sounds from our microphone. The next EQ that we're going to do, we're going to add a little boost to it. What? Yeah, my microphone. My mouse is being freaking stupid right now. Yep, I need to get a new mouse. Please like, comment, and subscribe so I can afford to buy a new mouse.
I'm smiling, but it ain't funny.
Now see, this thing right here, this you can basically just copy because this is always going to be the same no matter what microphone or what your voice sounds like. This is just like a boost to the high end of your voice to give you more clarity and make your voice stand out against the beat better. Usually you want to add some around the 2K, and then you want to add some a little bit past the 5K and above. Now we are finally done with EQs until we get to the 4th one. But for right now, we're going to use a fruity compressor. What the heck is a compressor? Why do I need it? So when you record your vocals, right? There's times where your vocals are like quiet and then times where they're like louder. You can see like there's like a spike in the audio and then it's quiet and then it's loud and it's quiet, then it's super loud, then it's quiet, then it's even more loud, then it's quiet. You see how there's drastic changes in the volume? You don't want that in your recordings because that means for some parts of the beat, you're not going to be able to hear your voice, and then some parts your voice is going to be like way too loud. You want to get your entire voice one consistent volume so that throughout the song, whether there's like a quiet part of the song or like a loud part of the song, your voice is always going to be audible. So that's basically what the idea of a compressor is. A compressor like squishes it. Hands Hands, please. All right, my hands aren't working. Like, comment, and subscribe so I can afford to get a freaking good camera. The idea of a compressor is you want to like basically even out the volume of your vocals. A compressor does that by basically squishing it. So at first it's going to make your vocals like way quieter than they were before, but then we have other ways to like increase the volume afterwards. But for right now, the main thing that we want to do is we want to get everything to the same equal, consistent volume level. The main things that you would ever need to change is the ratio and threshold. The lower the threshold, the more it squishes the vocals together. The higher the threshold, the less it squeezes them together. Right now I have it around the middle, so it's not completely squished. Like there's still some variation in my words being somewhat quieter or somewhat louder. You still want it to sound natural. Like you don't want to bring the threshold like all the way down, because then it's not even gonna sound like natural speaking. The ratio is basically how aggressively do you want this compressor to work. So the higher the ratio, the more aggressively this thing is gonna squish your vocals. You basically want to balance out your ratio with your threshold. The best thing for you to do is, I would say, set the ratio to 4.0 to 1 and then start adjusting your threshold. So you can start off with these settings, and then if you feel like there's still too much difference between when you're like being more quiet and when you're being like more loud and aggressive, if you feel like there's still too much like range between that, you can go ahead and lower the threshold. Attack is basically, do you want this to like the second you start speaking like slap your vocals down, or do you want it to be like you start talking and then like it like gradually starts to even it out? It's basically like how fast do you want this compressor to actually start happening. If you're rapping, that means you're speaking pretty fast. So if you have this slow, it's not going to actually catch the spikes and dips in volume. So you want this attack pretty much really low, but I wouldn't say 0. So 4.7 was where I was good. Release. Basically, release is after it compresses your vocal down, how long do you want it to continue holding the volume down? 200 is a pretty good spot. Type vintage. This setting just sounds better than the other ones. I don't really understand exactly what the heck this thing does, but vintage sounds the best. Gain. Like I said, the compressor works by squishing your vocals, which means it's making your vocals more quiet because it's evening the things out by making it basically the middle range. So all of the like loud sounds are no longer loud. So basically all of that volume from like the spikes in volume are gone. So the gain basically lets you increase the volume back up to being how loud you want it. However, we have other things that work as a better gain. So you don't want to go too crazy increasing the gain volume on the actual compressor itself. So you just want to like gradually increase it just a little bit. We also want to have a limiter, which kind of works in the same way as a compressor. And actually it's like a better visual representation of what I was saying. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this back to default so that I can show you what I did. So we're going to go ahead and listen to my vocal.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even got a cater. Snapping like a gator.
So you can see the volume is like going up, down, up, down, up, down, right? But you see how there's like certain spikes that are still like way louder than everything else that you're saying. The limiter is like compression part 2. The ceiling is basically the thing smashing down the vocals. So what you want to do is you want to find like the average loudest volume, and then you want to put the ceiling there so that it can cut off all of those super high extra loud parts in it. I would say that would be around here. Most of these, this is about the highest it goes, and these are just kind of like outliers where your voice just gets extra loud for no reason. Now see, the thing with this is like it's not completely removing the sound, it's squishing it. So it's not removing parts of your voice, it's just evening it out. If I press play again,
if you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even got a cater.
now the volume never actually goes higher than the ceiling. And you can see these little dips in here. This is basically showing every time that the volume tried to spike up past this line and where it said nope and then like squished it back down. So this helps to keep all all of your vocals even. However loud you are or where you have volume spikes in your voice is going to be completely different from mine, and it's pretty much going to be different in every single recording. So this is something that you have to adjust based on your own personal vocals. Now, what we want to do is add another EQ. Why do we need another EQ? This is basically just a second de-esser. Basically, after I did all of these and I listened to my vocal, I noticed that I could still like hear the S and T sounds like kind of like spiking, and I was just like, you know what, let me just throw another de-esser on there just to like really get rid of these so that my voice sounds like crisp and clear. Now, like I said before, we had a gain, but I told you not to mess with that gain because we had a better one later on. So right now,
If you get paper, you ain't worried about a hater.
our voice is very quiet because of all of that compression. So now we want to actually bring our volume back up so that it's actually the loudness that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what is called Soundgoodizer. This is like the absolute best setting for my voice. I would say having it like 3/4, 75% of the way is good for your lead vocals. It's perfect. For my voice personally, C works the best on my voice. You could go ahead and experiment with trying A, B, or D, but for me personally, C sounds the best. So this is what it sounds like before we add the Soundgoodizer.
If you get paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater.
And this is it with Soundgoodizer.
If you get paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater.
Okay, so you see how it's like way louder now? That's basically why I told you not to use the gain before, because Soundgoodizer is a gain that just gives your voice just like that sexiness to it, you feel me? The last thing that I like to add is reverb, because you never want your vocals to just be dry. Like, you want your vocals freaking wet. You want them moist. You want them freaking sopping. Dry vocals are basically vocals that have no effects on them, and wet vocals are vocals that have an effect on it. And the specific effect that people are usually talking about is reverb. So no reverb is a dry vocal. Adding reverb makes your vocals wet and moist. Usually default is good enough. You could just leave the default settings, but obviously this isn't a singing song. Like, I'm not the freaking Weeknd. I don't need reverb to make me sound like I'm singing in the heavens. So usually I'll have the reverb very, very low. Usually like around here, which is about like, what, 13%? Usually I'd leave them pretty low. And that's basically all that you need to do for your main vocals. We're going to go ahead and play this with the beat so that you can hear how it sounds. Well, actually, let's play it without the beat first and then play it with the beat.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice like my veins lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the Minute Maid. Fresher than some Glade when I pull up with the suede.
And let me just remind you what all of this sounded like before I added anything to it.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later.
And then with the effects.
Ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice like my veins lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the Minute Maid. Fresher than some Glade when I pull up with the suede. Know you feel play, how my money so tall. Like you know I'm Paul Wild, I can never fall.
And then let's listen to it with the beat.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice like my veins lemonade. Yeah,
That's basically what you need to do for the main vocals. And then for the background vocals, basically just do exactly the same thing that you did for the first one. And the only thing that you want to change is the Soundgoodizer. You want this at 1/4 volume. You don't want this at 75%. You want it at 25%, because obviously you don't want the background vocals to be just as loud as the main vocals, like they're in the background. For the reverb, use the same default setting, but increase the amount of reverb. Like, you want to make these more like spacious and more like spaced out. Also, I like to add a delay. A delay is basically like an echo. Like, you say something, say something, say something, say something, like that. So basically ping pong means that it'll like ping pong or like bounce between like your left ear and right ear as it like does the repeats. And I just like that effect. The cut is usually going to be like all the way up here. I bring it down to the middle because the cut is basically how loud is each echo repeat. Obviously, you don't want the repeat the same volume as the first time you said it, because then that doesn't even sound like an echo. It just sounds like you're saying the same thing over and over. The time is basically you're adjusting like how long it takes for the echo to happen. So you can either have the echo be like echo, 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 or you can have it like echo, echo, echo. So that's what the time does. And the way to adjust that is to right click it and go to set, and then you can adjust it to one of these numbers. I like to leave it at 2, which is pretty fast, but you could also set this to 4. These are usually the numbers that I would stick to, 2 or 4. And then you can go ahead and adjust the volume of the delay, or like how much delay that you want. Usually I would leave it like around like 1/4%. And this is what our background vocals sound like with all of these put on it.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid.
Also, I like to stereo separate just to make sure that things aren't clashing with each other. So I'll like move over this thing to the left for the background vocals, and then for the main vocals, I'll just move it like a little bit to the left, just so that it's in a different stereo space than the instrumental, just so that everything like has its own place to like live. With that being said, I now have the main vocals, I have the background vocals, and then I have the extra background vocals where I just grab the last word from each line to like add more emphasis. And then I have the beat. Now, before we call this finished, let's go ahead and master it. We're gonna go ahead to Maximus. This is basically the exact same process with the drums and instruments. You're gonna go to presets, and you're going to go to clear master RMS. And then for the fruity limiter, you can go over here to presets, and you can go to mastering, and it will do literally the exact same thing. I didn't even realize that setting existed until I've been individually messing with all of these knobs for like years. But anyway, I've already adjusted all of the volumes for everything. Once you do all of these things, this is the final product that you'll end up with.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater. Snapping like a gator, I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the Minute Maid. Fresher than some Glade when I pull up with the suede. Know you feel played, how my money so tall. Like you know I'm Paul Wall, I can never fall. Like I'm MJ, cause I'm living off the wall. Like I'm MJ, cause I'm about to win it all. Hold up, yeah. Neck so icy that I'm getting frostbite. Suffocating, man, cause my rhyme's too tight. So hot that I sizzle. I'm popping, I just fizzle. Schooling y'all boys, man, call me Miss Frizzle. Eating on my beats, but I'm never satisfied. Killing on my beats, man, I call it genocide. Cook 'em up and knock 'em out, call me George Foreman. Feeling like I'm in my prime, see me transforming. Mind so sharp that I might decapitate. Feeling myself, I ain't talking masturbate.
That's basically the gist of it. And just for fun, this is what my song would sound like if I literally just threw my plain raw vocals into this song. And let's go ahead and take off the mastering too. So this is what my voice would sound like if I did not do any of that, just to remind you why going through all of this is a pretty good idea and worth the time and effort. So we'll go ahead and listen to what Abomination this was supposed to sound like.
If you getting paper, you ain't worried about a hater. When you getting bread, you ain't even gotta cater.
I can't even freaking hear it.
I don't wanna see you later. Capping like some gator, ayy, I hate getting paid. Yeah, I got the juice in my veins, lemonade. Yeah, we got the juice like we know the Minute Maid. Fresher than some Glade when I pull up with the suede.
Yeah, so see how my voice sounds like buried in the beat and like doesn't stand out at all, and you can like barely even freaking hear what the heck I'm saying? That's why you want to go ahead and do all of these things. That's basically my new way of mixing and mastering vocals. Let me know if you found this helpful at all. Let me know if you plan on using this method next time you do some vocals. And if you like the video, like, comments, and subscribe. And I just wanted to say, guys, I know that 50 subscribers is like nothing when it comes to YouTube, but I appreciate every single one of you guys for even being here, checking out the videos, checking out the content. Without you guys, I'd just be a crazy person talking to my screen. So thanks for that. And I'll catch you guys in the next tutorial. Hopefully this next one is not going to take another freaking month. I'm already starting to work on ideas for it, so hopefully I'll get that out by like next week. Hopefully. But yeah, I'll go ahead and catch you guys next time. Take care. I always mess up my freaking outros.